Greetings. It is I, Susie Q, sharing a little bit more about some of the groovy stuff that I get to play in. Even when I was a little kid, I absolutely loved playing in the sandbox. I liked it because we had a small little sandbox, and then I could create roads, I could create spaces, I could create relationships with other people that, were my little friends there in the sandbox. But right now, we're going to really talk a little bit about some other cool stuff that I am now ready to explore more deeply. It's super fun. So today we're really working with our connection to spirit. How do we have a dialogue or communication with spirit, and how do we kind of discern, do I even need to have connection with spirit, or how is it that I'm able to access spirit, or how does spirit come to me, and how will I know what it is? So this is what we're going to talk about today. It's really about our ability to find the right ways to communicate with spirit. And so, for my own example, so basically, I mean, I talk with a lot of people about this kind of energy, but it's really, really amazing when we come together and we kind of chit chat and talk about the ways that we actually are able to access spirit. Spirit could be whatever it is for you, right? So, I'd like to go into a little bit of my process when I was having my Kundalini awakening back in 2015. It was big, epic, yucky, and it's but it's been better. It's been better. So that was 2015, and now it's 2022, right? So I've had a lot of time to integrate my ability to access these beautiful insights from spirit. So, there's a whole kind of a synchronicity, I think, with it. When we're working with connecting with spirit, is that we start noticing the synchronicities in our life. And the synchronicities in our life are kind of like little breadcrumbs to keep going, like this is going to show up and this is going to show up. And then we go a little bit deeper, then we have a deeper understanding, then we've kind of gaining more insights. So I'd like to share some things back in 2015. And so 2015 was my was my messy, messy Kundalini awakening. Now I look at it and it's like, okay, I think I can do this, right? And so there was a couple of really pivotal moments during 2015, and I've outlined it in great detail in other videos. I'm kind of splicing it into smaller videos for more of some of those sensory things that I was receiving. So I would have to say back then in Houston, I was kind of the leader of a women's group. And there was this woman that came in, and it was the first time I ever saw her. She sat right next to me, and I kept kind of like, because I was leading the group, and we were super tight on time, so it's a very effective action group, kind of giving feedback and maybe some wins that people were having. But I kept feeling her energy. She was on my left side, right? So I kept thinking, well, I can't talk to her now because we're doing the group. But afterwards, I said, I feel like I don't know exactly what you do, but I would like to have a session with you. And it was so crazy because she's a nurse. She's a nurse and she has kids, she's married, she's busy and everything. But then as I kind of was begging her, because I really felt her energy was super duper powerful. And so I eventually got her phone number, and I called her after after that meeting, that networking meeting, and I said, "Can you please give me a session? I don't know what you do, but can you please do it?" She said, "I really can. I'm really busy. I've got the kids, and I'm getting ready to go to Brazil for John of God." So she was getting ready to go to Brazil. So, but anyway, I kept kind of like, I just knew that there was something there that would assist me in my kundalini or my awakening energy. So she did come. She did come before she went to Brazil, and so it was really kind of cool because I was like, I didn't really even know what she was going to do. I didn't know what her modality was or anything. I just kind of had faith that she was going to help me, and so she came to the house, and then she brought a massage table. I laid on the bed, and so I was facing up, right? And so it was a session. It felt like about an 8-minute session, but ultimately it was about 45 minutes of a meditative state. Now, I'm a yogi and a yoga therapist, and so I was able to I'm really used to meditation and to kind of transcending from the body in a way. But what I'd have to say is that, again, with this communication with spirit, this was one of the early things that was very, very evident for me to find a way to communicate with spirit. So when I was on that massage table, um, there was it was kind of like that sensation where somebody was holding my crown, but it was like one hand was there. And then also, I had one experience where my hand was kind of going up like this. My right hand was going up. And then I started getting the impressions. My eyes were closed, but I was getting the impression that there were three beings on both side of me. Okay, three beings. There was one at the crown holding my crown, and then there was one at where my feet were. And so that whole time it was just really interesting, but I started to notice some of the sensory information that was coming through, that it was basically kind of like electrical currents, and the electrical currents might have been, maybe about 5 inches long, but it would be a current of energy that was very, very evident. And so that was what was happening. And then after that session, I asked her, I said, "Were you holding my head?" And she said, "No." And I said, "Well, where were you?" She said, "I was about 15 feet away from me, 15 feet away." And I said, "Did you bring any beings with you?" She said, "No, I did not." So I had these beings, and they were very interesting. They all were the same. They all looked exactly the same. And when I was feeling those sensations with the body, with the electrical current energy, is that it was interesting because, they were all succinct, and I could notice where they were working with the body. So some of the stuff was in my gut area, my lower back, probably a lot more in the torso area, maybe my heart space. But I feel like they were kind of clearing me. Okay, so going back to spirit now. Okay, so once I've had that connection, I've had another uncanny synchronicity that same week, but that'll probably be another video. But there's a lot of synchronicities and little breadcrumbs along the way that help us and guide us to the perfect place to have a connection with spirit. So going forward in this is, after that event and several other events that happened with synchronicity and kind of magicalness or miraculous energy, is that I started to kind of play around with my body in a meditative state just when I was in my bed. And then I started accessing, because I was able to hear things as well, hear through spirit. I could get information from spirit. Some of it was an internal listening. Sometimes, very seldom does this happen, but oftentimes it'll be like I can actually hear it. It's like there's somebody in the room that says hello. So those are some things that show up. But what I really found for myself, for my connection with spirit, is that electrical current, those lines and currents of energy, that it began like, maybe like a 5 or 6 or 7 inches at the very beginning. And then what happened was, as I continued, because I was trying to, like, can I see you? Can I hear you? Can you, embrace me in any way? But it was basically the lines of energy that was really, activating that sense of communication with spirit. So it was a process for me, and I was so determined, to find out, like, how can I access this energy to get more insights that will help me. And so, but that was the beginning. And so with that, with my sessions I do, is that when I go into what's called kundalini, right? I go into this kundalini energy, but it's also like the goosebumps. You could have goosebumps on your arms, on your legs, on your torso, but mine was goosebumps everywhere. Even my crown tingles, right? From that energy. Like right now, my crown is tingling, right? So, but that's part of that energy. And so when we look at it with that idea that those goosebumps came in, and again, when I was in that session with that woman, and actually what the work she was doing was the work of Eric Pearl out of California. And I can't remember, I think it's called Reconnection. I think that's the name. But that was pretty powerful. But when we start kind of noticing that, we have these tendencies to make a choice, like how can we connect with spirit? And then that experience with the currents of electricity in my body, that became my messenger system. And I think a lot of people, you and I, right, have the ability to access it through the the goosebumps or the kundalini or the cosmic orgasm, you know? And that's kind of a fun way to play with it, but it feels really, really good. So when I'm in a session with an Akashic record, I would maybe say if there maybe we're working with some of the energies with the Akashic records, and maybe they're talking to me during the session, the person is, and then I start getting kundalini. Then whenever I say kundalini, it means we're basically in truth. So my meter of truth with spirit and connecting with spirit is that I'm able to go into that kundalini energy, and it's completely full energy. Sometimes it would be going all the way down from the top of the head to the foot, and then sometimes it goes like into a toroidal field, and then it comes back again. So sometimes there may be several rungs of energy that are coming through, as if the toroidal field is really impactful with the energies with spirit. So that has been a big win for me. And when people come to me for the Akashic records, some people want to just have a record. You know, they just want to have an experience that's unique and interesting and fun. But then a lot of people, not a lot of people, a few people have come to me for me to help them to access their own records. And I think each one of us are always doing our records. You know, we're always in our records, right? It could be a memory, it could be kind of some new information coming through, it could be a wisp of energy that comes in that's so powerful and wonderful that's helping you. But that's a lot of the work that I do. But that communication with spirit is really, it's really about your sense of love of self. I think that's the biggest piece I would impart with this video, is that your sense of love of self is always adapting to newer consciousness, newer wisdom, and newer ways of connecting with spirit, whether it's spirit from your ancestral lineage or from your star family lineage or from your other higher realms that are so amazing and so wonderful that we're able to access that. And if we can find that right way to communicate, mine again is the goosebumps, the kundalini, and all of that. And that is my meter of truth. And it's not even like my meter, but once if a person is speaking about something and then they've just said something kind of interesting or different, then I go into the kundalini. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, wait a minute, people. Wait a minute, people. Let's see if we can go a little bit deeper. There's more energy around what just happened. So spirit is always working with us. Spirit is always with us. And so the key thing here is if we can find a way to have a deeper connection with spirit or consciousness or source or God, whatever that word is for you, is find a way or a solution that you might be able to access some of this beautiful spirit that's always around us. People think, well, like, I don't get any, I ain't got nothing. I ain't got nothing. Well, you do. You have a beautiful bandwidth of beautiful energies that are supporting you, loving you, caring for you, kind of like that grandmother, grandfather energy. Just like they're like, you're good, you're doing really good. Keep going, you're doing really, really good. So that spirit energy is so powerful and it's so helpful to bring a person to take a one step forward, to maybe go into a whole new field of awareness and start accessing that beautiful ancestral energy that is all around us, right? And so when we look at the ancestral energy, it's kind of like everybody, when we look at the sea of people, the sea of beautiful people, is that they're all our family, right? And so I think that connection is very, very deep. So I'm really happy to share this with you today. It's been super fun. So if you would like to have a session or even call me to get more information about this, be happy to visit with you. My phone number is 832 790 7888, 832 790 7888. And I'd be happy and really excited to see you if you would like to have an experience that's unique and wonderful. So have a beautiful day and namaste.